liberation greetings to all and sundry, my dear people of Amazonia, fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement. Accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro. This Sunday, today is Sunday, September 10, 2023. I'm delighted to be here again. It's true that I've been off from this platform for a couple of days, carried away by other duties and a good lot of other issues that I had to attend to, still relating to this liberation movement, and also for my upkeep, grappling with a good lot of those things, but continuing to make sure that we stay glued together as we continue to fight. As we continue to fight relentlessly for the freedom of our homeland, Amazonia. So, my dear people, today is a very, special day. I should say special day, maybe because it's been a while that I was here, and especially because today we are going to be discussing a few things that have been raised before that did not seem to really mean anything to quite some of our people, but it's beginning to come clearer and clearer. And I'm convinced today more than ever before that everyone is beginning to open their eyes, open their minds, open their ears to see exactly what is going on and to understand that this liberation movement is God ordained, and nothing shall by any means stop us until we get to our final bus stop. La République du Cameroon once in a while picks a few, what I should call victory laps, that we'll call victory laps here and there, and then they mistaken this to mean that that they have subdued this liberation movement. In every liberation movement, you have ups and downs. You have up periods and you have down moments. They told us not long ago that they had cleared all our self-defense volunteers, all our freedom fighters, to the point where there were maybe just about 3 or 5 left, and that it was just a matter of a few days before they all surrendered for us to remain subdued under La République du Cameroon forever in slavery and servitude. But they were all wrong. They had it all wrong. Completely wrong. And of course, in the course of this broadcast, you'll be understanding with me what I mean by they had it all wrong, completely wrong. This is because sometimes you want to take a view at the symptoms and not the illness. That's the point, at the symptoms and not the illness. La République du Cameroon and all their international partners, for that matter, those who to continue the international scene to think they can join them in subduing us, they simply don't get it. They simply don't understand that because our people, right from 2016, recognized that we have lived in darkness, we have lived in pain, we have lived in slavery and servitude too long, that we can no longer be afraid of even death when it comes to taking back what belongs to us. If La République du Cameroon had understood this, along with their international partners, they will begin to treat this particular matter differently. La République du Cameroon has been counting on the gradual erosion of time. But I guess at the end of this broadcast, they will come to learn that time would rather complicate things for them than fixing them when it comes to the situation with Amazonia, with the great people, with the brave people of the southern Cameroons. We are a determined set of people, and we have made up our minds that we will go all the way to the end, and so nothing shall by any means stop us. So, my people, you notice that our denizens in Fako, particularly, had come to swallow the big lie that this liberation movement was being forced on the people of Fako, the people of the foreign zone, of the forest zone, I beg your pardon, by those from the grassfield. At least that's a narrative we have heard, some I don't want to call him brainwashed individual. I simply like to say some illiterate like Mbelamoki Charles, because that's exactly who and what he is. Because they've tried to listen to some of those people and they thought that actually, effectively, what they were saying was the truth. They failed to understand that the brave hearts rising to ensure we get freedom, we restore the freedom of our lands, are recruited from all over our territory. They failed to understand that every single Amazonian at least understands the need for us to break free from La République du Cameroon. Listen, you can have a few people in our communities who are members of the families of those bought over so-called elite, those that are bought to the CPDM cause, that continue to loiter around and give the impression that when they spray hate speech and come under and write a lot of trash, it could help. It really doesn't. I said it the last time that one thing that evil people share in common is that they are so united and support each other. That is why you get when Bella Mokichas makes such xenophobic, useless statements, you find a reverberation. I mean, on the grass field, from bought households like the gentleman of, I call him gentleman, he's absolutely not, of MKPD. Listen, folks, we are on track and nothing shall by any means stop us. Because that noise that they made, noise recently, that oh, somebody's knee is on the neck of the Southwest. Let me actually quote their right words. I think our brave hearts in the forest zone decided to come out and remind them very strongly and very brutally that this liberation movement will not stop until it gets to its logical conclusion. Just take a look at this. One killed as gunshots welcome back to school in Kumba. Now, if you ask them, they would have been expecting to see this kind of headline talking about Bamenda, talking about Mbengri, or talking about Kumbo, talking about Wum, talking about Ndob, or talking about Santa. But hell no, it's talking about Kumba. And why is he talking about Kumba? The reason is simple, absolutely simple. I regret the loss of life. I regret the unfortunate passing of this young orphaned IDP. So sad. But it happened there because the people had been brought to start thinking. To start thinking that our liberation movement was dying. To start thinking that our brave hearts had given up. So when they warned that if they find you outside from the 4th to the 18th of September 2018, you'll be considered a legitimate target. They thought it was a joke. They thought it was empty talk. And that is how they misguide, deceive people into finding themselves in harm's way. And you will see it explained even much better here. Military amber crossfire leaves orphaned IDP dead. IDP girl dead. Amber military cross or military amber crossfire. So you see that this one was not even directly targeted. No, by none of the actors. But because they say stay home, stay inside your houses and stay safe. And those who want to seek justification for stupid political positions and stupid political games come over to you and tell you, go out there, don't worry. Mr. Paul Bia's stocks are there to protect you. They will defend you. They are saying this while they themselves have about 5 to 6 layers of military protection around themselves. They won't go out the way they're asking you to go out. They're asking you to go out all by yourself. And this is the result. So sad that this IDP orphaned girl ends up in this kind of manner. My dear people of Amazonia, I've said here 1,001 times I don't ever participate in anything that seeks to come up with justification for why a civilian in such a situation should be killed. I don't. I will never seek justification. But the only thing I will do is continue to push caution. I said here before that don't joke with anyone who is carrying a toy. Those toys are real. Don't joke with anyone who's carrying a toy. Even those who have military training tell you that when somebody dangles a toy and says lie down, you lie down, you obey. Says move, you move. Go this way, you go, because you are seeking to stay alive. Because by respecting those orders, you have a fair chance sometimes of staying alive. You don't try to play the brave with bare hands before someone who is carrying toys. So therefore, when you hear them tell you on ground zero, from this day to that day, don't step out, because if you step out, you will be considered legitimate target. It's not a joke. Avoid it. That's the only thing I will say. A lot of those boys, the self-defense volunteers, fighting to restore, fighting to ensure the total independence of our land, just like the Turks from La République du Cameroun, all of them live in very difficult conditions. Sometimes in forests, exposed to all kinds of, wild animals, mosquitoes, everything. And so when they give the instruction, say, obey it, and you don't obey it, when they come out, they look at you as if you're trying to dare them. And the only thing they're going to do is use what they have in their hands. That is why I will continue to take this opportunity to call on all our folks, don't give your life for people to play with. When you look at this headline, Mayhem in Boya, who in just the past 3-4 weeks would have expected that what happened in Boya would happen? Who? No. The people in Boya have been brought to understand that this Boya area has been totally taken over by the colonial forces of La République du Cameroun, and it has become no-go zone for the true owners of the land. And therefore, people put off their guards. And so when they were warned, don't come out between the 4th and the 18th of September, they were told, forget about them. Go about your normal activities without arms. And of course, people went. Look at what happened. Look at the taxi drivers and the people who found their lives taken, roasted in the car. That's unacceptable. I consider those avoidable deaths. Those are absolutely avoidable deaths. Did they have to absolutely go out? Now let me get to the root of why this lockdown is taking place. And I want to say this clearly, because I've seen a debate going on where say, oh, why is it necessary? Why are they fighting against schools? Listen, I won't justify violence, because I've said here 1 million times that the lives of the civilian population remain my concern, remain the concern of the organization, the consortium that I have the pleasure to lead. We're a civil society organization, a grassroots organization close to the people. And our anxiety is at all times to see that these people stay safe, that these people are provided the life skills required to survive in a warring environment like the one that we all find ourselves in Amazonia. And so therefore, I think 2 years back, the member organizations of the Southern Cameroon Stakeholders Platform came to an agreement, to a compromise regarding the issue of education in Amazonia. Because I hear some misguided people say certain things that don't really make sense. The school boycott is over. The era of the school boycott is over. We had determined, and even during the pre-talks in Canada, this thing came up and we still made clear the era of school boycott is over, but only for the sake of defiance and to continue to make clear to La République du Cameroon and the rest of the world that we are not part of La République du Cameroon. We will never follow their calendar when it comes to schools reopening. As I've always said, we will reopen 2 weeks always after La République du Cameroon has reopened their schools. And we favored more the community-based schools. Because when these schools that La République du Cameroon is talking about in Ambazonia, a lot of them were political schools created without infrastructure. A good lot of them don't even have teachers. The teachers are being paid. Some of them have teachers about 90 to 100% hired and are being paid by the PTAs, by the parent-teacher associations. And today, a good lot of the well-wishers among our people abroad are providing tremendous support for community schools to operate in our land. And therefore, when you go out there to try to give the impression that we are against schools and have asked for schools boycott, that is not true. And of course, you know it. Because you see, even the self-defense volunteers who went out to indicate the implementation of this policy, which is just like the Monday Ghost Towns. We don't need any further communiques, press releases, or announcements. You should know that at the reopening of every school year, as long as this situation persists, we will never reopen our schools at the same time as La République du Cameroon. No, until we get them completely out of our land. So therefore, don't wait. When the new academic year is coming, you start thinking that, oh, they still need to come and tell me, oh, why are they asking for lockdown? This is what it's going to be. This was an agreement. It was clear. So the self-defense volunteers simply came out to remind people that this is how it's supposed to be. Don't go up against this. If you go up against this, we will. This is what it was. This is what it is. Last week has ended. We're in a new week. And this week, right up to Friday, it will be the same thing. Stay home and stay safe. Nobody is against education. Our children will go back to school on the 18th of September. Keep them home safely. There is no liberation movement in the world that you have not seen the desire to generally show defiance. Defiance is part of the game and it is legitimate. Therefore, avoid situations that put you on a collision course. Look at a young girl that ends up in a crossfire. I mean, I would definitely condemn with all my energy the killing of 2 head teachers in Boyo. Whatever the case, that particular act wasn't justified. No one will seek to justify it. No one should even attempt. Because if you captured them, you should have kept them, educated them, reminded them of the need to avoid putting themselves in harm's way, and then set them free to go back home. Because they're only going because La République du Cameroon knows during this period they blackmail all the teachers, headmasters, and everyone to go out there because they are seeking to show the international community that normalcy has returned when they know it is a lie. And therefore, some of those people are simply, should I say, constrained because they want to protect the little bread that they still have to feed their families. These are things that must be avoided. These are acts that should not be taken. In a crossfire, that's different. You couldn't control. So these are things that we must continue to examine, and we must continue to educate the self-defense volunteers as we move on. But most especially note that sometimes if they meet you and then arrogance and everything comes on, I repeat, those toys you see them carrying, they can go off at any time. Don't take the risk. This is what I say. Do everything to stay safe. I want to give another example. Because, like I said, La République du Cameroon desperately continues to hang on to that thing they call make-believe. They want to create a situation where they tell the whole world, just turn your attention. That's why you find them rushing to us to come and quote, sometimes absolute rubbish. I call it absolute rubbish because You come quoting to me things that don't even deserve to be quoted. They are laughable. They made me ask myself, huh? They made me ask myself if you even know what you are talking about. Because I see, I receive a text, someone telling me the someone telling me Mr. Philip Van Dam, yeah, Philip Van Dam, Mr. Philip Van Dam. Philip Van Dam is the outgoing head of the European Union delegation to Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea, and he was on my media prime and said a couple of things. He said the Anglophone problem is Cameroon's internal domestic problem that has to be solved by Cameroonians. We have never bothered ourselves to think that someone like him, he is a diplomat based in Cameroon's capital. Did you expect him to come tell you that, oh no, this Cameroon's problem, we are the ones to come from somewhere and solve it? As Ambazonians, we know our destiny is in our hands, and we have taken our destiny into our hands. We are doing what we need to do to get La République du Cameroon out of our territory. Once we would have checked La République du Cameroon out of our territory, you will not have Mr. Philippe Van Dam sitting somewhere to be saying this kind of inanities. They said the same things with respect to South Sudan. Where is South Sudan today? An independent and sovereign country. They said the same thing when it concerned East Timor. Where is East Timor today? A sovereign and independent country. They said the same thing when it concerned Eritrea. Where is Eritrea today? Sovereign and independent country. They are still saying the same thing regarding Somaliland, but trust me, gradually, they are beginning to recognize Somaliland as a sovereign and independent country. So, my people of Ambazonia, these are words, just words. It shouldn't influence anyone. It's because of talks like this that La République du Cameroon struggles to put up this kind of useless show and endanger the lives of our civilians. If you know what happened last week, Mr. Achobang Paul, yeah, aka Pastor Achobang Paul, went out to produce that same kind of drama. Children that had done holiday jobs at the Bamenda City Council for 2 months and had not been paid and were waiting for their payment. Achobang Paul chose Tuesday, September 5, to be the day he was going to pay them when he knew that it was lockdown and ghost towns. But these children managed to trek from all the angles where they were to find themselves at the council premises for their pay. And what did Mr. Achobang Paul do? Had 2 buses, loaded these children at those buses and drove them straight to GBHS Bamendankwe. That is where they were going to be paid. And when they got to GBHS Bamendankwe, he made them to be distributed into classrooms. Even the principal, who was not on campus at the time they arrived on campus only to find unusual activity on the campus. He knew that students were not coming, with teachers were not coming. And they suddenly saw the campus. So he wanted to ask questions, and they had to caution him. Be careful, is the city mayor who is here. He's here with a team, or with teams of reporters from Canal 2, Equinox, CLTV, and all the likes, to film these children, these innocent children, who are not even students of GBHS Bamendankwe, in classrooms to show to people that schools have effectively resumed in Bamenda, specifically at GBS Bamendankwe. So just look at such a show. Look at such a despicable attitude. Look at such blatant manipulation from someone who holds the Bible and moves around and calls himself a pastor. It should continually educate us to the level of desperation in the minds and hearts of the people of La République du Cameroon, of the colonial administration. They know that they have lost. They are aware that they cannot possess our territory. They are aware that the fight is definitely still long. But what they want to do is try to play mind games on the people, and of course get diplomats like the outgoing European Union delegation head to make the kind of statements that he will make on CRTV and Next. That is my media prime. Of course, I've said here before that my media prime is CRTV and Next because it's an outfit that is being sponsored, that was, and initiated by Leonard Combs with support from Frank Deere, and is being heavily sponsored by Frank Deere, being the media house that has to be used to woo the people of the southern Cameroon towards the Frankist movement, a project that has even died. So that is what it is. So when someone shared this to me and said, that Mr. Van Dam said, Ambazonia terrorist attacks, and I asked a simple question. Did Mr. Van Dam actually use the word terrorist attacks? Terrorists. Did he use the word terrorist on Ambazonia? Of course. Once you see somebody transcribe and use expressions that were not used, that kind of thing, it is watered down, simply meant to create that kind of atmosphere that I'm talking about. They say if Amber terrorists have the courage to accept defeat and lift the school ban, it will change the dynamics on the ground. There is no school ban. Admit defeat. Defeated by who? Hey, we saw what happened in Libya then. Okay. They have caused me not to want to bring in Belamoki Charles. This was less than 2 weeks ago, before we see what is going on in Boya. Watch Belamoki.
Yaounde! Aha! We don't hear Papa talk. Someone will kill me again. I be telling you now. Say the Coco member, the entire member, we for here don't like opposition. I'm gonna be green. When I be saying I don't want to see Ambazonia for here. If wanna be green, the next day when I want Ambazonia, Prime Minister for the year too. Governor be telling me Sunday when me na eat the job. He said, Belamoki. I don't want to talk now. He said, if one man be locked up from Ambazonia like he be locked up, for the narco head. Minister of Defense, Your Excellency. All these uniform people them so. When we take this place like that, I want to say for your presence, I want to thank these uniform people. And I should not they make up, not picking for here, no, they only hear Amazonia, they know they hear. Then we picking where it goes for we here. Like Grandpapa that, Chief Moja Moja.
Now, you see, I will continue, I'll finish it out, but I just want to stop here. You see the level of desperation that someone who calls himself senator sits in the presence of a prime minister, head of government for La République du Cameroon, Chief Joseph John Guto, seated right there. And they celebrate someone who is causing atrocity on the civilian populations, who is unleashing mayhem on the local population. The civilians causing them mayhem. They celebrate him. I mean, celebrate him. And then did you hear what Belamoki said? That if we not hear any talk about Ambazonia for a year, it's because of Moja Moja. That was less than 2 weeks ago. I don't want to ask where Moja Moja was just a few days ago. I don't want to ask what Moja Moja was. But you see, they're calling Chief Moja Moja. Belamoki is not a chief. And that's a chief that comes and has to bend his back for somebody who is not a chief to tap it in appreciation. Travesty. That's what it is among them. They have lost it all. They've lost the sense of what, our culture is all about. All because their minds, their eyes and everything are clouded by political stupidity. Oh yeah. You see the Prime Minister going there to dance in celebration of a lunatic who has spent his time using his position as a military man with La République du Cameroon to torture innocent citizens. Finish it.
activities, Your Excellency, the build-up, the result, the reward, and the pay we will get on today now say the Prime Minister, head of government, for being a messenger. Look, if you want to see this man, you want to say, Paul Biya. Yeah, boy! Amingali muma, retangaringa.
Amingali muma,
Retangaringa.
Amingali muma,
Retangaringa.
Amingali muma,
Retangaringa. Amingali muma, retangaringa.
Amingali muma, Amingali muma.
That's a whole Prime Minister, head of government of La République du Cameroon, Chief Joseph John Gute, celebrating desperation, celebrating Moja Moja. When I said it here before, that Moja Moja's actions were not just being supported and abetted by this man who calls himself Prime Minister of La République du Cameroon, but that he was personally sponsoring them and discussing them and even discussing how to take them to the next level of harassment of the civilian population. People said no. This is a clear occasion for everyone's eyes to see. But that desperation brought doom upon them. Because Mbelamoki said, you don't hear Ambazonia in Fako because of Moja Moja. Where was Moja Moja? They said there were just about 3, 4, or 5 Ambazonia self-defense volunteers present in Fako. But Tuesday, Wednesday, in Boya was something else. Eyewitness accounts say there were almost 300 self-defense volunteers inside Boya, not just somewhere, not just in Moyoka, in a corner, or inside Boya. Over 300 of them. That's what I learned. There are over, or at least 300 of them. But I heard there were just about 3 or 4. And that's not all. They said the sound that they heard, if that sound were from toys carried by those Amber boys, then this liberation movement was just about to start, or is just about to start. The same account said they were in at least 5 different locations. In Bitingi, in Bonduma, in my 16, my 17, my 18, in Moliko of all. I'm sure when Moja heard all of that, he ran away, dug a hole and entered, and is waiting that when it is over and the brave hearts have retreated, he will now show up carrying his python around and making noise and looking for innocent victims to claim that those are the brave hearts that he's fighting. The dogs, Mr. Paul Biya's dogs themselves, when they heard the sound of what was reverberating all over Boya, they took off to their heels. They never showed up. There was no confrontation with them. No. Those of them, among the Paul Biya's dogs, including a police superintendent, who succumbed, definitely got their bullets in the back, running. And then they did one thing. They waited. When the boys had finished their operation and retreated, they showed up to do this. My apologies. They showed up to do this.
Other business they go tell them must say they don't want to.
So, as you see, this is the local population, innocent people, including even minors, now captured in what like people to Cameroon will call Kale Kale. And you ask them, they tell you they are putting everybody on the ground, arresting everybody, causing them to sit in dirty water because they are searching for the self-defense volunteers that operated in the city for 3 getting to 4 hours on end without any intervention. And I asked a lady, a denizen there in Boya, who reached out to me and we were conversing, and I asked, do you have even the most remote feeling that these thugs from Yaounde actually intend to catch any of those boys who were in Boya that morning among those that they are capturing and causing them to sit in the mud? And the answer was no. These are the people. The answer was legitimately no. Because you see, these people that they now capture, put down here, and they bought trucks or pickups, and they were loading them inside and taking them to their station. According to them, to search for the Amber boys among them. And what followed next? A collection of ransom. 50,000 francs each person before you go back home. 50,000. These are people whom they will say were traumatized by the boys, who were traumatized by the gunshots they heard all over the place. And what do you do? Do you bail them out of the trauma? Bring them consolation? Try to reassure them? No. You come and traumatize them the more by causing them to sit down in dirty waters and then carting them to your office and start threatening them. If you don't pay the 50,000 francs of ransom, you will be transferred to Yaounde and tagged an Ambazonian fighter or tagged an accomplice. If you don't give the money, it will be your word against their word. In a lawless country like La République du Cameroun, there is no such thing as investigation. So consequent on that, they claim to be there to protect the people. When there is heat, they run away. After the heat is over, they come and palms descend on the same people and start collecting ransom. That's exactly what happened here. Watch. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at them. Minors, among them children. This other footage I'm about to show now is again because even while they came out and claimed that they were ready to look for the self-defense volunteers, for the freedom fighters of Amazonia, what did they do? They opened fire on an innocent child. That's the reason of this for this outcome. At the end of the day, there was so much heat in Meme, Indian, in Manu, in Fako, even in parts of Kupungwanengoba. Konguti is part of Kupungwanengoba. Now, even Victoria Limbe, that they claimed they could go there and eat soya and guard the core, was touched. So that normalcy that they were talking about, they are ready to dump it now, to cast it now into the pit. That's why the SDO, the colonial SDO for Fako, came out with a release saying that major decisions had been taken to get the people, to get those they call the intruders off the streets. So it says, from the date of signature of this present order, The circulation of motorbikes are hereby restricted in the cities of Boya, Limbe, Tiko, and Muyuka from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. to further notice. Now look at this. This is in a town or in a county where normalcy is supposed to have returned. My dear people of Ambazonia, brave warriors of our liberation movement, I like to say here, we have come a long way, a very long way, and we are still marching, we are still standing strong because that is the right thing to do. We have had moments when it seemed hard, difficult, but we have been able to overcome those moments. I want to take this singular moment to congratulate all those who, on the ground, without making any noise, continue to bring in the support needed to keep this liberation movement alive. Don't hear those inanities of the international community today does not accommodate, separation, breakaway. We're not separating. Separating from what to what? We're an entity. And we will get La République du Cameroon running out of our territory on speed. That day is coming. That is why I like to share this. The two most powerful words when you are locked in a situation like this one are patience and time. The two most powerful warriors, not words, warriors. These are the greatest warriors of all times. Patience and time. Listen, folks. Patience and time. La République du Cameroun too is aware of this. La République du Cameroun is aware of the fact that patience and time are very great warriors. In fact, the most powerful. That is why they have been trying also to play the card of the gradual erosion of time. But what they have not understood is that as time is going on, Ambazonia is getting greater and greater capacities and capabilities. We are getting more organized. Even when they feel that we are so disorganized, so divided, so far apart, fighting against each other, they could see for themselves. That's why a few of the denizens in Boya who had always said, oh, that your thing, you people, just go, I don't want to, they caught, and they're now saying, no, wait a minute. They are now taking a different look altogether at what is going on. Because they thought that time and patience were on the side of La République du Cameroun. Unfortunately, time and patience is demonstrating beyond reasonable doubt that it is switching sides. Time and patience enabled the people of East Timor to fight, fall back, and then come back and fight again all the way to the end. Time and patience was the fuel on which the people of Eritrea, they went for up to 30 years. They got what they wanted. Time and patience was the fuel that powered the people of South Sudan to freedom. Folks, my dear people of Ambazonia, if you were in this liberation movement for a quick fix, think over. But trust me, we are not likely to go in for as many years, up to 3 decades, like it was the case with Eritrea. Why? Because time and patience are decidedly on our side. La République's day with Armageddon is close. I read something, someone wrote that, oh, it will be difficult to say some Catholic entity. Wrote that, oh, it will be difficult for a coup to take place in Cameroon. Nobody's even expecting it to happen but through a coup. Because Mr. Pobia has installed a very strong divide and rule strategy. That's it. Divide and rule strategy among the military. It is that divide and rule strategy that have been pushed to the extreme that will take La République du Cameroon to where they will be. Not very long, not very far away from today. And they will watch us. calmly, quietly walk away. That time is coming. I'm delighted because a lot of our people are sensitized to the importance of this time that is coming. And people are working very hard towards ensuring that this opportunity will not pass us by. That is one of the reasons we are preparing so actively towards the Southern Cameroon People's Conference that comes up in Canada in October. That's just a few weeks from today. That is the reason for it. My people of Amazonia, we will get there. We are going to celebrate the power of synergy. We are going to Canada to unleash the power of synergy. That is what we seek. Because we have to be ready when that great day gets here. And that day is not far. So if you have not registered for the conference, go on right now and type www.scpconference.com and you will be in the portal. You will get answers to all the questions you want to ask there, and you will have the opportunity to register for the conference. Don't miss it. And so I come on to this. In life, we never lose friends. We only learn who the true ones are. You'll be asking yourself questions, why am I talking about this? Because La République du Cameroun, by day and by night, is trying to showcase some people, some actors who in the early days of this liberation movement were so militantly in support of our movement, who today have fallen out, and they want to present them as being a demonstration of the fact that we are failing in our liberation movement. This thought should educate us that we are not losing any friends. No. People were strong activists yesterday, they fall off. Some even turn against the liberation movement and start saying all kinds of things. Some even turn in and become agents of divide and rule. Some even turn in and become everything. Trust me, they are only giving us the opportunity to learn who our true friends and our true supporters are. We are not losing friends. No. We are only discovering the moles that were planted among us. We are not losing friends internationally. We are only discovering those that were coming close to derail our thought pattern. Those are the ones falling off. This liberation movement is strong. The fundamentals of our liberation movement are so strong, just so strong. You saw what happened far away in Donga Mantung in the border town, where a whole garrison of La République du Cameroon stocks was evicted. That is how we will get there. Step by step. Step by step. We will collect everything that is ours. Step by step. We will collect everything that is ours. La République du Cameroun will move out of our territory, whether they like it or not, by hook and by crook. My people, I'm getting towards the close of this broadcast, but I want to get onto something that makes me feel bitter and sad. Listen, take a look at this. You see the gentleman there in this picture? He is of Southern Cameroon's extraction. He was a member of the B, Mr. Paul Bia's Rapid Intervention Battalion. His name, Etat George. These are people we have coached, advised, have urged over and over to recognize that La République du Cameroun does not see any of us as humans. They see us as subhumans. They don't recognize you as a full-blown citizen of their land, even when they claim a certain so-called one and indivisible. Where even 10 B uniforms on your body in layers, they look at you as soon as they recognize that you're of Southern Cameroon's extraction. In their eyes, you're an Amazonian. And that is the lesson that Mr. Eta George, unfortunately, rather learned on his way to the world beyond. Because he had quarrels after quarrels with one of his bosses. That boss always called him an Amazonian. And he was trying to refute always the fact that he was not an Amazonian because he was standing with the oppressor against his own people. At the end of the day, to teach him a lesson and show him what they do to those they call Amazonians, what happened? His boss removed his weapon and unleashed, emptied an entire magazine on Mr. Eta George. I mean, he emptied an entire magazine on Mr. Eta George. A B element standing with La République du Cameroon against his own people, against the aspirations of his own people for freedom. This is how he was compensated. This is how he was paid. Mr. Eta is now in the world beyond, learning the very hard lesson of what it takes to think that an oppressor can have compassion or feeling for you, even when you are assisting that oppressor to keep your people under their permanent oppression. In the eyes of La République du Cameroon, none of you matter. I've said this, even to those misguided politicians. The day is coming soon where you will not know where to head to. You will not have an idea which direction you need to take. That day is not far. In the case of Gabon, the people could run to, like they could run to, but they would just run away from a system. But in the case of La République du Cameroon, while it's getting very bad out there, you will equally not be finding it comfortable to run back to your home. To meet what? To meet who? To meet what kind of setup? Make hay while the sun shines. Somebody said it's getting too late for them. But I want to be clear. It is never too late. You still have an opportunity to repent. Because if you listen to such inanities, like it's being spilled over there by someone who is saying that Mr. Van Damme, Philippe Van Damme, of course, when you hear the name, you notice that it's either French or Belgian or Swiss. I mean, the French précaré in Western Europe. Of course, you wouldn't expect him to say something different because La République du Cameroon is France's farm. It's France's farm. And so they expect La République du Cameroon to hold Amazonia hostage as an extension of France's farm. So you can only say that because he said, these days, nobody supports the logic of separation. Who has time for all of that? We don't have time around it. We do not touch the colonial borders because we would open a Pandora box that will be unmanageable. Of course, that's why we say don't touch colonial borders. La République du Cameroon should stay within their internationally recognized borders, boundaries they acquired at independence on January 1, 1960. Those borders don't include Southern Cameroons. Mr. Van Damme, go back to your history. And he says, stop asking us to solve your internal domestic problem. We have not asked them to solve our internal domestic problem. We will handle it our way. We will get La République du Cameroon running out of our territory without looking behind. The government has to go ahead with the implementation of the decentralization process and the special status and resolutions from the Grand National Dialogue. He forgets that even the European Union that he supports, had described the so-called Grand National Dialogue as a smokescreen, as a monologue. They speak and they forget. They think that we too forget. My people, let us remain strong. Let us continue to stay glued to what we believe in. Don't you ever forget, Ambazonia will be free. Ambazonia will be free. Ambazonia will. I didn't say would. I didn't say might. I didn't say can. I said will. W-I-L-L. will be free. To God be all the glory. Always my delight to be on this platform to share with all of us. Again, I will be right back. Thank you.